The name's Marlowe. Philip Marlowe. I'm a licensed private investigator. You don't get rich in this racket. Sometimes you get beaten up or shot at or tossed in the jailhouse. Once in a while, you get dead. Every other month, you decide to give it up for some sensible occupation. Then the door buzzer rings, and there stands a new face with a new problem and a small piece of money. Come in, Trouble. What can I do for you? The first thing you have to do is to choose which version of the game you want to play. If you want to play the game that follows the plot of the book, Little Sister, then click Original Plot. If you want to play the game where the motives and murderers are not the same as the original plot, then click Alternate Plot. After you've made your selection, click Start to begin the game.
Orrin was living in a very tough neighborhood, Mr. Marlowe. At least I thought it was tough. The manager of the rooming house is a most unpleasant person. He smelled of liquor. Do you drink, Mr. Marlowe?
Well, now that you mention it...
I don't think I'd care to employ a detective who uses liquor in any form. I don't even approve of tobacco.
Would it be all right if I peeled an orange?
You might at least talk like a gentleman.
Anybody ever tell you you're a cute little trick?
I should hope not.
Hope isn't exactly the word. Get yourself a pair of those slinky glasses with colored rims.
Dr. Zugsmith, my employer, wouldn't permit anything like that. Do you really think so? They don't sell any in Manhattan, Kansas, where I come from. But you said you drink, and you've been very rude, and if I hire you...
If you hire me, I'm the guy you hire. What's your name and trouble? Look, you come from Manhattan, Kansas. You work for Dr. Zugsmith, and you're looking for somebody named Orrin. I already have enough information about you to find out your whole family history. You don't look like the type who goes to see private detectives.
I know that. Orrin would be livid, and Mother, too. I just picked your name out of a phone book and...
What's your name?
My name's Orphan Quest. My father was a surgeon. He died 4 years ago. I live with my mother since my sister Layla and my brother Orrin left. Orrin was going to be a surgeon, too, but he changed to engineering after 2 years of medical. Then a year ago, he came out here to work for Cal Western in Bay City. It wasn't like Orrin not to write regularly, but the last letter was several months ago. Mother and I got worried, so it was my vacation and I took the train out to see him. I'd written to Orrin that I was coming, but I didn't get any answer. So all I could do was go down to where he lived. It's in Bay City, number 449 Idaho Street. It was a cheap rooming house. The manager was a horrid kind of man. He said Orrin had moved away a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't know where to, and he didn't care.
Go on.
Well, I called the place where he worked, the Cal Western Company, you know, and they said he'd been laid off like a lot of others, and that was all they knew. So I went to the post office and asked if Orrin had put in a change of address. They said no, so I began to get a little frightened. He might have had an accident or something.
Did it occur to you to go ask the police about that?
I wouldn't dare ask the police. Orrin would never forgive me. He's difficult enough in the best of times. Besides, our family's not the type of family...
Well then, just what do you think might have happened?
I guess if I knew that, I wouldn't have come to see you. How much would you charge to find him?
$40 a day, plus expenses.
That's far too much. I couldn't possibly afford more than $20. I've got to buy my meals, and my hotel...
What hotel are you staying at?
I'd rather not tell you if you don't mind.
Why?
I'd just rather not. I'm terribly afraid of Orrin's temper, and, well... I can always call you, can't I?
Let's see a photo of him. There was a lot she hadn't told me. I stared at the family photograph and wondered, should I pump her for information on Orrin, or should I try to find out something about her and her family? Tell me about Orrin.
He was 28 years old. He has light brown hair. He's very tall, over 6 feet. He used to wear a little blonde mustache, but Mother made him cut it off. She said...
Don't tell me. The minister needed it to stuff a cushion.
You can't talk like that about my mother.
There's a lot of things about you I don't know, but you can stop pretending to be an Easter lily. What about his habits? What does he do for fun, besides not smoking or drinking or going out with girls?
He studies a lot, and he has a very expensive camera he likes to snap people with when they don't know. Sometimes it makes them mad, but Orrin says people ought to see themselves as they really are.
Let's hope it never happens to him. What kind of camera is it?
One of those little cameras with a very fine lens. You can take snaps in almost any kind of light. A Leica.
All right, I'll take the case. But you ought to be able to guess what happened. He's in a strange city, he's made good money for a while, he's meeting a kind of people he never met before. So he just broke training and he doesn't want his family to know about it. He'll straighten out.
No, Orrin's not the type to do that, Mr. Marlowe.
Anyone is. Out here he's lonely. He's got dough. He's got himself all jammed up with some floozy and a bottle of hooch. After all, the guy's going on 29 years old, and if he wants to roll in the gutter, that's his business.
I hate to believe you, Mr. Marlowe. I'd hate for Mother...
Something was said about $20.
Do I have to pay you now?
That would be the custom. I'll give you a receipt.
I don't need a receipt, Mr. Marlowe.
I do. You won't give me your name and address, so I want something with your name on it.
What for?
To show I'm representing you. Call me any time. Bristol Apartments, apartment 428.
I shan't be very likely to visit you.
I haven't asked you yet. So, I found myself employed, and for the unheard of sum of $20 a day. There were a few places I could investigate, and I always have the resources in my office. I tucked my gun into my shoulder holster. It was a dicey case, and I might need it. I put my gun back in the drawer. I didn't need it where I was going. Miss Orpha Mae Quest, my current client, was small, neat, and prissy. She wore rimless glasses, no makeup, and no jewelry. She wasn't that kind of girl. And yet there was something in her eyes that was much older than Manhattan, Kansas. From the description she'd given me, Orrin Quest sounded like a sleazy, sanctimonious weasel. Imagine somebody whose hobby was taking sneaky photographs. If he was my brother, I might be glad I lost him. But she wanted him found. Why? The question was, where to next? Cal Western is an oil field with ambitions of becoming a refinery. I'd explained what I was looking for and why, and the office manager had obligingly found Orenquist's one-time foreman for me.
Yes, I knew Orenquist. He didn't work here too long, about a year. The company had to let go about half of the second shift about 3 months ago, and Quest was just one of a dozen we laid off.
The plant seemed to be running at full tilt now. I could ask what had caused the layoffs and what Oren's attitude toward that had been, or I could try to get some insight into Oren's personal life. Quest worked for you about a year. Did he ever talk about his personal life, how he spent his weekends?
He wasn't really talkative. More argumentative. He was a blue nose. The rest of the guys could always get a rise out of him. All you had to do was ask him about girls or parties or sex, and you'd start him off.
He didn't make any friends.
Well, he might not have made friends with anybody here, but he must have found someone to pal around with. As long as he did 8 hours work for 8 hours pay, we were satisfied. And he did. Up until a month or so before he got laid off.
What changed?
Sometime before he left, a month maybe, he started calling in sick on Mondays. And when he did get in, he looked like death warmed over. I've seen people binge. You know that look they get. Anyway, when the time came to choose who to lay off, he was high on the list.
After he got laid off, did he ever say if he had plans? If there was any place he'd go?
No, he never said. But I heard that when they handed him his severance pay, he laughed. He said it was peanuts. He was going to be rich.
Did he say how he was going to make this money?
The way I heard it, he said he was going to collect on the wages of sin.
Why anybody would want to find Orenquist was a mystery to me. Unless it wasn't him they were trying to find, but something he had or something he knew.